Good evening. Welcome to show 110 on the last day of July 2019. That would be the 31st for those of you who are not paying attention. Tonight, we've got a bunch of news, but before we get into that Tesla news, let's introduce the panel. And first, we're going to play a little game called Where in the World is Casey? As you can tell behind Casey, he's in a different location today. So, Casey, where might you be today?
I am in Alexandria, Virginia, in another hotel. This one happens to be an extended stay. And I come to you 1 year advanced on the chronometer.
And a happy birthday to you.
Well, thank you.
What does that mean?
That means he has successfully circled the sun.
Yet again.
It's your birthday today?
No, a couple days ago.
Oh, happy birthday.
What day?
Happy belated birthday.
Monday. Was it Monday? Or
That
Tuesday?
sounds right. Either way, one of them 2 days.
Okay, so it was either Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because my birthday was Sunday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy
What's
birthday.
the 29th?
Awesome. Man,
I wasn't trying to get that. I'm just like, oh my God, another July
you know what?
baby. Like,
Tomorrow's my
Yeah.
birthday.
it is
Happy
not.
birthday.
It is not. Oh,
My birthday was yesterday.
Happy birthday.
okay, whatever. I'm making it up.
Well, mine really was on the 29th, so.
Oh, man.
Mhm.
Well, keeping in the birthday mood, Mr. Frost from San Diego joins us. How are you today? Yeah.
The great
Yes,
green
indeed.
west.
This relates back to a pre-show conversation where I attempted, because I am so bad at doing accents, I attempted to do a Swiss accent, but it sounded like this, eh? Like, oh, where's the beer in the back bacon, eh? And I'm like, why did I do Canadian for Swiss? That doesn't even make any sense.
I don't know. And then he tried to go into something else, and again the Canadian came out. I don't know
It
why.
was a CB radio, and it was like a mix between Canadian and Minnesota.
And
Twice.
so we've now proven that
I'm sorry,
I can't do
I don't know.
accents.
It's just,
So we'll have impressions later on in the show. We'll do
Yeah.
all across the country, and we'll just go to Russell.
I'm going to do the entire show in this voice.
And mute.
Exactly. The numbers start dropping. What's wrong? Why are you going? What's wrong, guys? Come on.
Oh, and certainly last but not least, Mr. Schaefer from Chicago. How are you today, sir?
Hey, everyone. I am doing well. And thanks in the chat for welcoming me back. I was a bit under the weather last week. I appreciate it. Also, this show is number 6.
Number 6.
Is that like a
Yes.
Sesame Street thing? Like it's brought to you
Is
by
it
the
brought
number
to you
6?
by the letter A and the number 6?
Yes, because there are 10 types of people in the world. Wow, seriously? Someone in the
Oh,
chat room
was
is
that a-
going to get
Was
that.
that a binary joke?
It was a binary joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I made a
110.
hexadecimal joke earlier this week, so I understand.
Yeah, it is true. And it was pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't get yours.
Oh my goodness.
That's right.
I don't know, people. I don't know where this show is going. But since you're already watching the show, why don't you just give us a thumbs up for the binary joke and show Tony the love? Give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already to the show, here's the opportunity to get right on that. Click that button, subscribe, give us another number, and help us out. Because it's going to be a long show.
Oh God, that's an understatement.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And to prove it, well, this is where you jump in and go, you have the first story.
Oh, okay. I didn't get that.
I'm sorry, we didn't rehearse that.
No, we did not.
And to prove
And you
it,
threw me off because you're not in Canadian anymore. I just
okay.
There we go. Today's first story is to do with a crazy modification to a Model X. And we'll just share this on screen and see if you concur.
Oh,
Who
the hell is
done
that?
this? Well, this, of course, is Casey's vehicle. He had brought it in for some service, and this is what he got back. No, he didn't. But this is just an incredible pic of some fluorescent colors thrown together, and man, does that ever stand out? That is just Well, I guess it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you're trying to achieve finding it in a crowded parking lot, you have succeeded. No one is going to miss that car.
All right. Wait. Is that real?
Yeah, that's real.
I'm trying to find a link to that. I can't believe that is.
That's
our Twitter feed.
That is some high visibility vinyl.
It is.
I bet that won't show
if anybody
marks or scrapes at all.
If anybody wrecks into that, they deserve to get their license snatched away by the first responders.
Exactly.
Was that in France? Was that part of the protests?
It's the yellow vest protest.
The yellow vest protest.
That's
yes,
right.
yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, our next story is about a bit of a drop, and Mr. Frog is going to tell us about this drop.
Of a drop. Okay, so this hoser is driving along the road, minding his own business, and all of a sudden, his Model 3 falls 40 feet. 40 feet. Okay, I can't do that more than
you do it in metric for one.
Because it would be in meters.
How many meters is that?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm still on English. I've been drinking since the changeover. Anyway, Model 3 driver.
40 plus years, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm old. What can I say? It was just my birthday, so. As it happens in Oregon, a Tesla Model 3 owner had a little accident, went down a 40-foot embankment, crashed into an empty playground, sort of impaling the vehicle on some sort of pole.
Swing set pole.
Was it a swing set pole?
It looks like it, or possibly a fencing pole.
Not a swing set anymore. Yeah, and apparently got out safe and everything's okay. This happened early on a Monday morning, I guess, at the Health Starts Children's Center, which is really irrelevant in a sense. But again, the important thing is 40-foot drop, horrible pole, impaling the vehicle. Driver gets out of the car, walks away.
Wow.
Imagine if that had been a less robust vehicle.
Absolutely. Any other vehicle, the driver would have been dead immediately.
Before he went over the edge.
I was going to say, even before he went over the edge, he would have,
he would have been dead.
The car would have euthanized him just to save him the trouble.
Yeah. He would have done the calculations for the lawsuit payout on its own. And
it would have said, I'm going over 40-foot drop. I may as well kill the driver now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just for the so is the chat room
Big Auto boom.
Yet?
Is the chat room drinking yet? They've got
I don't know.
You've got to be
after that story. So once again, big props to Tesla. The cars are built safe and tough. And although we don't really know why the driver decided to go down this 40-foot embankment, all we know is that they were unharmed and there was no one harmed in the playground. So, yay!
It makes a good story end.
The reporter was speculating that it might have been a medical emergency.
It might have been. That's certainly speculation that has not been corroborated.
So I wonder with a crash like this, if the car would have started ordering its own parts immediately. I need a windshield.
Gotta
need a front bumper. Yeah,
gotta wait till version 10.
Yeah. All right, so I got a show title on my own here.
What you got?
Any landing you can walk away from.
This is true.
It's a good landing.
So you don't expect that in a car show.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Well, it did better than a lot of the Model S's that went over cliffs.
Is that a thing?
That is a thing.
We actually have data points from that.
Yeah, there were several suicide attempts. Like, they were of the actual Tesla certified deaths. A couple of them were like in the hospital or after they drove their car off a cliff. At least two of them.
Wow,
yeah.
You wouldn't think that would be a data point you could collect on, but
no.
But I guess with all the cars out there, you never know.
Is it possible that Bill Murray and a groundhog were driving this car when it went over the embankment?
Oh man,
possibly.
The thing is,
we would never know because it just keeps backing up and replaying.
So they actually made it to the hospital, so it's like you didn't really succeed.
Yeah,
you just wasted a good car and pissed off your family.
Oh man. Next story, we're going to talk about batteries and a
Are
whole
we?
lot of batteries.
That sounds like something we do every week.
Well, this is a massive production increase plan that Elon talked about after the quarter end earnings call.
Oh, this is my story, isn't it?
That's right. So go right ahead.
So they actually have now certified that they're going to be doing the Megapacks rather than a future product that may happen. It's a thing now. So it's going to require less parts, and they'll come in pre-assembled on the semi trucks, and all they have to do is hook them up to power and the foundation of some sort, and you're good to go. And they say it's what, 40% more space efficient than anything else out there.
Yeah. They shrunk the size, and what I thought was genius was they basically built it on like a 40-foot trailer.
Yeah.
So we've got a photo to share here.
Yeah, we saw a couple prototypes of it earlier, and we'd all assumed that it was actually in production already, but apparently they were just prototypes. And this one right here actually looks better than those did, which is cool.
Yeah, so you've got you see those that bank of black thinner items near the center. Those are trays of batteries.
Those are batteries.
I've seen in the production that they're trays, and then the adjacent to it on the left, you've got some power equipment there, wires and switches, fuse boxes, that type of thing. And then the outside on both sides, the left and the right, I'm not really sure what the extra space is for. I would imagine there are more batteries, but what's kind of neat is at the very top, along the top beside the logo, you can see venting. So this could be like an enclosed unit that is can be placed anywhere and then hooked up quickly because it's all self-contained on like a 40-foot trailer. Just dropped off at site. You can add multiple together to make it even larger and a larger array of batteries. And the reason I say those black things, those black small things in the center were batteries, is I just finished watching a video of an older tour at the Nevada Gigafactory, and they were showing those black trays filled with batteries in packs that were being put inside of the older power walls.
Power packs.
And
the power walls too.
So they were showing those packs moving around the factory and then loaded into power packs. So I took it that these were those same trays. They look very similar, but with the actual size of the rest of it, I got to believe those other areas, which I really don't know what they are, would have to be batteries as well. I just can't believe that all that extra space is nothing, but something. What else could possibly be inside of a unit of this size?
You think maybe those are crypts? You think there are like people and people's remains in there?
I would say perhaps it might be an optical illusion, and that that's just the section with those square covers removed with the what look like handles. So they can say what's inside.
It's people.
So they mentioned that it's ready. It'll take AC and DC inputs and outputs, so you can hook up a ready to go solar array. On the spot.
Or wind turbine, or pull in juice from the grid.
Yes,
as well.
That would use the AC side, yeah. And
so interesting. They've what I think is the genius here is that they've made it into a smaller, more manageable pack that can be moved around. It's self-contained. It looks like it's got some sort of a venting system in it that would allow them to easily place them in packs or individually. And as Casey mentioned, hook it up to multiple sources to pull in energy in different ways.
Yeah, so, they did confirm that it does have heating and cooling on board, and they've already got a couple customers, including PG&E.
Very good, very good.
So is it just me, or does it look like this one was dropped off in the middle of the road?
It's just
okay.
The wiring all goes from underneath. And
Maybe it's a hat, and they're going to put like 20 of them on there.
I'm having a hard time looking at it and not thinking file cabinet.
Yeah, it's definitely got a filing cabinet look to
Yeah,
it. Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
where's the Macintosh file? What's up with that? I can't find it anywhere. Okay. I'm sorry.
So, Casey, that was great. But the story I was speaking about
Oh, okay.
was about story number 3, which was about a massive battery production increase that Tesla has planned.
Speaking
Oh
of
yeah, that one enabled the other one. I apologize.
That's right. That's right. So what we've got is Tesla talking about going at an unprecedented rate. Everyone knows that the Gigafactory in Nevada is a little bit underproducing what they expected to be. It was supposed to be at about 35, and it was really more like 25. Yes, we all need help, Russell. Yes, indeed. So what Tesla had, or what Elon has spoken about recently after the Q2 earnings call, is about this ability to ramp up the battery to really trillions of batteries. We're talking about, I'm sorry, not trillions of batteries. What's the term? It's not a giga. It's
Terawatt.
Yes, a terawatt of power, which is roughly 35 times more than what they're currently outputting. So this is a monumental raise in battery production. No one has any clue as to how you could get to that type of total. And we're hoping that some of that information will be shared with us when the battery event happens now pushed into September, October area. So, but this information was released out of the bag recently as he was talking about this monumental 35 times the amount of batteries to be produced to assist. It sounds like more on the side of what we just showed, a Megapack, or the ability for different utilities to use the batteries to collect energy, as opposed to, talking about 35 times the amount of, say, cars that were produced. So this information that he released, it did sound more like it was towards the energy side of things as opposed to car manufacturing.
So Elon tweeted on that as well. He said that they can finally stop starving the energy division with the automobile division. So it's expect to see like a modest bump on the car side and a gigantic leap on the energy side.
Yeah. So very interesting news that again, we don't know how they'll get there. We don't know how long it'll take to get there. We don't know a lot of things about this. It could be, just basically pie in the sky, but certainly that sounds where Elon wants to head, which, of course, we know that Elon's timelines aren't exactly zeroed in or targeted perfectly, but we do know that he does get there eventually. So it'll be interesting to see what the battery event in September, October reveals about this particular plan.
I'm still waiting for the solar-powered battery swap station in Kettleman City. Is that going to happen sometime soon?
It's
actually they probably they deferred that to Vegas. That's what Vegas got.
The battery swap station isn't going to happen anytime soon, but the Kettleman is battery powered. There was a large outage there shortly after it opened, and it was still dispensing juice. So that was pretty cool.
No, the battery swap was tried, Russell, and just was not going to work.
They didn't give it a chance.
I don't understand how you can't. Yeah, they didn't give it a chance. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, I mean, you had the equipment, and
because it wasn't gonna work.
I read an article recently, and I heard it on a show that I was watching. That like 18 months ago, the CEO of Uber said that they would be deploying self-driving cars to pick you up.
That sounds like a week ago, right here. Well, not here physically, but digitally.
Yeah, that was a tongue-in-cheek reference to the fact that CEOs say all kinds of crazy things, and the media reports on them, and then 18 months later, where is the follow-up?
Where's my smart summon? I was promised it like 6 weeks ago, 8 months ago.
Tesla insurance.
Oh, that's a thing actually.
So
isn't it where?
It's a pilot program.
To Mark's point, I have no doubt that Tesla will get there. Tesla will at some point be making terawatt hours per year. Yeah, but it's like you said, when? Who knows? It might just be a standard evolution that eventually they get there. Like, it's not going to be next year or the year after.
I think it'll be really soon because the Gigafactory 1 isn't even finished yet. They promised us 35 and then 50 gigawatt hours, and they were doing 28, and they were doing 0 not too long ago before that.
So I haven't seen a lot of cranes around Gigafactory 1.
No,
Like they're still building it.
Gigafactory 1 looks like a boyhood drawing of something, and then they added panels to it to enhance that look. And yet Gigafactory 3 is just like a complete structure.
Yeah, I'm going back to Gigafactory 1's not finished yet. I'm thinking if they were in a big hurry to finish Gigafactory 1, after how many years, it would be finished.
I think that they have the usable space they have there currently is covering the operations they have. And you're right, Tony. They've got no immediate plans to get more floor space. So
and don't forget that anytime that anybody independent talks to Panasonic, they get all super conservative and we're not ready to talk about it, and we'll slowly see what the growth needs to do. The Japanese business style.
Well, that might change.
We know that, but we also know with the new Maxwell purchase that that Tesla is probably aiming towards doing the batteries themselves over some period
I would
of time.
look at this like Tesla's car carrier purchase, because that has definitely sped up the deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't hear about them not being able to deliver cars, do you?
You hear about these like magic 2-week orders and deliveries, like whoa.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Oh,
you know what?
My goodness.
Oh, the Tooth Fairy's calling me. I'm sorry. I got to take this.
I think that it may be a little bit over optimistic, but but I would also say that Tesla has a way of making these things happen over time.
Hey, do you know who just fired their head of North America operations and liaison to Tesla?
Was it Tesla or Panasonic?
Panasonic.
Mm-hmm.
When did that happen? Just this week?
Yeah, it was recent.
Yeah, it was this week.
Okay.
Just saying. Like
other pieces of the puzzle.
Was it because they weren't getting enough batteries, or because they lost the contract?
I'm sure it's something that was Panasonic's fault and won't affect output at all.
At all.
On to another subject that's probably close to Russell's heart.
Oh, everything is
the Boring Company.
Can I talk about the Boring Company?
That sounds boring.
I love the Boring Company. That was a question. Can I talk about it?
Yeah,
please.
I guess I can. So this week, the Boring Company, and for those of you who aren't aware of what the Boring Company is, you don't really watch this show, so I don't care. All of you know what the Boring Company is. The Boring Company just managed to raise $120 million from outside investors. This is like a private sale, and it follows $112 million raise last year. Mostly came from Elon. This one came mostly from an unnamed financier. That sounds mysterious and interesting, doesn't it?
Did they sign their name? Not Elon Musk?
I think so. I think not Elon Musk and not Pablo Escobar.
It was Charles Cook. You heard it here first.
There we go.
That would be amazing.
Thank you. Really, there's not much else that we know about this other than it was $120 million. They have the money now. This will allegedly help them tunnel the loop in Las Vegas. Sorry. And possibly some other projects, but we don't know. This story in Electrek mentions Dodger Stadium. That's not going to happen. The loop in Chicago, it's not going to happen. So I'm not really sure. There's the Baltimore, Washington thing. Maybe that is still viable. I don't know. We'll see. But Vegas seems like the most likely, since the people who approve that are still in office and seem like they actually meant to go forward with it.
Yep, they'll be digging under those convention centers shortly
Mm.
after they hire some more people.
I have a feeling that once it actually is complete, like any one of them, like that's public, then they might get more orders because a lot of these government types like to see it in action first.
Yep,
I feel like-
absolutely. It's going to be interesting if this little apparently what this Las Vegas tunnel is between a north and south convention center to shuttle people back and forth in a quicker fashion than going up to street level and crossing things. But are they going to use like Model X's to ferry people in the tunnel? I just I have no idea how this is. When we originally talked about the Boring Company and their pods that would hold a group of people, almost like a train car, that would be shuttled along, that sounded a lot more plausible than having a single Model X or multiple Model X's ferrying people back and forth in a tunnel. But obviously, we're not privy to the details that the Las Vegas Convention Center signed. But it would be interesting to see what that mode of transportation is going to be like. Obviously, the tunnel is going to be there. What will be traveling in those tunnels is what I am interested in.
I just want to drive my Camry through the tunnel. Will they let me do that?
I think
No,
so.
Because it's
so.
oh, damn it!
So if anyone wasn't
yeah, that's
already,
the pod.
This is the pod that Mark is referring to, that we had seen some very impressive renderings and animation on.
Anyone who has cash that wants to bet on the viability of this project, I'm more than willing to take your money. Just let me know. Russell at whatdrives.us. Bring it, baby. I need your money.
Are you putting any odds on it, Russell, or is it just strict 1-1?
Strict 1-1, man. Anything else would just be cruel.
We will see. We will see. And
Drink.
since you're already watching the show and maybe drinking heavily already, before you get too far gone, press that like button. Give us a click on the subscribe if you haven't already. Give us another number, and we would really appreciate that. Our next bit of information comes from the state that Russell used to call home.
Don't
I had to.
me.
I had to, Russell. You were there for a long time.
Oh my God, that's not right.
I just had to add this. What happened was a gentleman was cited for having his car parked in a particular way in a Florida neighborhood. And here is the photo of the proof. This gentleman parked on the boulevard with his charge cord across the sidewalk into a house or residence that you can't see in the picture.
That isn't his.
That's what the police found out when they came to the homeowner and asked them to move their car off the boulevard. The homeowner said, "That's not my car." But somebody had parked their car there and plugged into that person's house for 12 hours or so, and just left it there collecting a charge.
And it took them 12 hours to figure out that there was a car parked.
I'm assuming it was through the night, Tony.
Yeah, through the night, and when he woke up, this thing was there. And then I guess whenever the detective finally got there and
said, maybe you should move your car, and he said, "That's not my car."
That's where I just unplugged the car from the outlet and just there you go.
That was my understanding of him, to not unplug it and not charge them and not press charges for theft and damage of the grass.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
This is Florida. This is stand your ground country. You can be shot for that.
Yes. That's why I said it was amazingly understanding.
I would have used that car for target practice for hours. Hours.
Oh, what a story, though. Like, just incredible. Of course, there was no follow-up with the owner of the car, because I would have loved to hear the explanation as to why, one, he decided to plug into somebody's house that wasn't his, and two, why he thought it was okay to park in the middle of the boulevard.
Yeah.
Because, it was probably a standard answer, like the cord was too short. I had to park on the boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's an article that says the cops tracked the owner, and he arrived to pick up the car. He had left it for 12 hours. According to the guy's wife, he did not even apologize for what he did, and his only excuse was that his battery went dead.
And he stayed at the neighbor's house, which is even more incredible. Why not plug into your friend's house instead of your?
Oh my
friend's
gosh!
neighbor's house?
Like this just gets better and better.
And so, like, literally, this is the equivalent of siphoning gas out of a stranger's car because you were running low on gas.
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to do a 1-to-1 fuel-to-fuel comparison here.
And don't forget,
Absolutely.
I've been doing videos of Florida. There are a shit ton of supercharging stations available.
Well,
They're all pretty good.
This
And they're all open 24/7.
natural selection should fix this guy's problem eventually.
Yeah, next thing you know, Florida man murders.
Shot as he attempts to park on a boulevard. Yes, I can see that happening now.
So first thing in the morning, Russell, when the police,
There's actually two superchargers in Lake Worth.
Yes.
So when the police come and say, you need to move your car, and Russell walks out and says, this isn't my car, Russell would have gone back inside, grabbed a piece of cardboard and a marker, and he would have wrote a sign that said, free Tesla, you can tow it.
You move it, it's yours.
Yeah.
Actually, let me change it, Tony, because I would have written a little bit different sign. I would have said, free Tesla parts, bring your own tools.
Oh, God. Yes.
But of course, you would have grabbed those hubcaps for me, right?
Of course. Of course. Jeez, that's the first thing is like, save the arrow wheel covers.
This is your text. This is the bridge toll.
That's right. That's right.
Take all 4 of these.
Well, last week we talked a little bit about a new supercharger that went into place in Las Vegas with level 3. And our roaming reporter, sometimes panelist, Patrick Connor, decided to be the Johnny on the spot and send us a little video review from that actual service supercharger. And Russell's got it here, and we're going to see if we can press play on this.
Yep, we can. Ready?
Go ahead.
Hello, Mark Coughlin and the Tesla Life crew. This is Pat here, your roving reporter. I am in Vegas at the new Tesla supercharging station at the Link. It has 24 V3 Tesla superchargers and 15 destination chargers, along with solar panels up there and a bank of Tesla power packs. Enjoy.
There we go. So Patrick on the spot lets us know that, yes, those V3s are in place. The solar and the power packs are up and operational.
Dun, dun, dun.
And
So
with a bank of level 2s as well.
Yeah.
Who needs a tunnel when you've got that?
That's right.
The tunnel is going to use that to charge the Model X's. And get them back in
There
the
you
tunnel.
go. There you go. They're going to pop up at Caesar's Palace, charge, and get back in that tunnel.
Kill me. Just kill me.
This is really a power pack type show because our next story is about Australia, but this is a very cool story. This is about Australia moving to its third phase of a virtual power plant. You will remember this story from a number of months ago when Australia decided to subsidize the purchase of home power walls for different residents that had solar and allow them to collect some of the solar energy stored inside of these power walls. And then the idea was to link them to, of course, not only the house, but to the grid and be able to share that power that was collected with the community as at large. They went through 2 phases where the first was obviously very small, just about a dozen or so. And then from there, they got into a little bit of a wider, development with the same power pack or power walls. And now that was of such success, they could see that this virtual power system allowed everyone to save and to be able to collect during the day and use during the night, that they have okayed the phase 3, which is now up to 50,000 homes are going to be connected to the same grid. So now you're going to have the power of being able to collect that sunshine all throughout the day and be able to share it amongst the neighborhood, even larger, actually a number of neighborhoods, in order to save the large cost of power in peak periods. So this gives them basically a virtual power plant that they can switch on and off as required to move that power around to residents that require that pull at that particular point. So we've talked about this several times on this show, and of course on What Drives Us, about these virtual power plants that these smart batteries can produce. And it looks like Australia is going to be the first to move into such a large deployment. Again, up to 50,000 homes are going to be cleared to put this type of a system in place.
Isn't there also a power company in the American Northeast that's doing like 5,000?
I knew about the one in Nova Scotia, but it wasn't anywhere near that. It was only a couple hundred. But I'm not sure about the 5,000 in the Northeast. Like, you're talking New York or Boston or
somewhere like that, yeah.
I'm not sure on that one. That one's not coming to mind. But again, this is great news.
Much bigger.
Being able to maybe eliminate those peaker type plants, if you can get everyone to collect it with their own solar array and share it amongst a number of different neighborhoods, it sounds like the perfect solution because of its ability to do fast switching on and off based on the needs for the power on that grid.
Yeah, this is this mesh grid setup is really great. If everyone does some collecting, everyone does some storing, and everyone does some sharing, and you end up with, instead of just a battery in your garage, you end up with like it says here, a virtual 250 megawatt power plant.
Yep.
Exactly.
So it'd be cool. Go ahead.
So I'm anxious to hear how long this deployment will take, and hopefully to get some more published results from this. And this could spur other utility companies to get on board with this, with maybe some subsidies to people that want to put the power wall in place and start one of their own virtual power plants themselves.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool if we see this program expand, as well as maybe a couple of like developments get like maybe 20 power packs, or something smaller than a Megapack. Stick it in the common area, like behind the park, and like
right. We had a story about a subdivision built like that, where they had a common routing to almost like a transformer type section where there would be batteries that are shared amongst the community.
Yeah, I think that was the one that had solar on every house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and and we've said many times with all the flat roofs that we have around the world, and I know there's so many of them in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You put solar on the flat roofs, and you put these batteries, and you mesh the grid, and pretty soon you don't need these centralized power plants any longer.
Yeah, Elon, during one of his presentations, I don't know if it was for the not the Megapack, the Power Pack, or for the Gigafactory, I think it was the Gigafactory. He showed a demonstration. He said, well, if we had enough solar panels to cover something slightly smaller than the state of Rhode Island, we could cover the whole nation in power consumption. And then you need like a tenth of the size of that for batteries, and you'd be good for 24/7. And then you just need a couple of those for each continent.
Yeah, I remember years ago the thing was people had saying, you need 100 square miles of solar to cover the to do the entire United States, and they're like, so you want to take over 100 square miles, and you want to do this in the middle of the desert? Now you have to transfer that electricity to all the ends, and you just look at them and you're like, are you really that stupid? No one said 100 square, contiguous miles. You just do some of it here and some of it there, and no, you don't do it in the middle of nowhere and then
Just hit all the big box stores and all the grocery stores, and you're done.
Pretty much.
Maybe a couple more, yeah.
And some buildings. I work. The campus I work on has 5 buildings, and they're all flat roofs, and with parking lots.
Yeah.
So just like Patrick's video, we could put
Parking lot
solar above
camping.
the parking lots, and then we could put solar on the roofs. Yeah.
It's such a simple solution.
Technically speaking, flat isn't ideal.
Right.
Okay.
Unless, well, the roof for putting it on may be ideal to have a flat roof for the construction purposes. You're right; it has to be angled towards the sun or track the sun.
Right.
But
Exactly.
to build on a flat surface is probably the easiest.
Certainly not saying that the solar panels would point straight up.
I just wanted to be a jerk. Sorry.
We do get a little bit of radiation from the North Star, and I don't count that out. That adds up.
It does eventually.
I'm going to start a new company, Nighttime Solar.
So how many
Nighttime
batteries
solar.
are you going to need?
Right.
You know what's great though? My power pack, it's like 4 AA rechargeables.
Yes.
It stores all the energy it's generated all night
And
long.
when he wants to double up, he just gets someone with a ladder and a flashlight to shine it at midnight.
Yeah. Hey, as long as you're not competing with my glow in the dark sundials.
I just want you to imagine how much extra energy I get on July 4th.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's true.
There is a spike in production. Absolutely. Absolutely. Next story, we're going to talk a little bit about version 10, which Elon spoke about recently. He was answering, of course, a Twitter question. And the question was about reading and possibly replying through voice to text messages. And to this person's delight, Elon indicated that, yes, that was something that was in the works for a version 10 of the software. We're all on version 9 currently, but version 10 will be coming with speak-to-text messageability as well as reading ability. And this is kind of a surprise because, of course, version 9 took quite some time to get to us, and it's only been less than a year with version 9. And they're talking about version 10, which was typically between versions was a much longer period. So not really sure why the difference is between 9 and 10, but it does sound like Elon is interested in releasing 10 at some point this year, which would be, earlier than expected based on the previous version changes.
How is it that a Toyota Corolla with CarPlay had this 2 years ago?
So they're going to need to improve on that voice recognition capability. Because whenever I'm moving and my Model X is like picking up my voice, it does an okay job recording what I say, but sometimes it is wildly off base. And if it hears me at all. That's because right now they do this. When you do the bug report, they'll read back what you've said. And
Russell, unlike a Toyota, what gets to happen here is that there are improvements. There are improvements that come with it, and there are additions that come with it. Not just model year improvements. This happens all throughout the
Iterative improvements. Is that what you're saying?
also on cars that are already built.
When did they
Not
start
just the
doing
new
that?
ones. 2012. So
I'm trying to figure out, honestly, isn't this embarrassing?
no.
Okay.
It wasn't a priority.
There were things that had to be done
Right.
first.
The fart mode, the video game.
Well, you see,
Hopefully
they
these are all different
had
teams.
more people on the fart team than the other team, so they had to get that knocked out immediately.
The
Hey,
part team had better management. They got done faster.
I know everybody in the chat room is getting really wasted on me tonight, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
So a couple other cool things that came out with this is we should finally see enhanced auto smart summon, whatever they're going to actually call this thing, because even Elon keeps using different names. And the videos, we're going to get YouTube and Netflix when parked and on Wi-Fi. And those are just the ones that came to the top of my head. There's a bunch more that you mentioned.
Okay, I will say I first questioned, because I'm kind of slow on the uptake. I get that, and you don't have to rub it in. But when I first read that it was going to include YouTube, my first thought was, what? And then I realized That way people can watch the Tesla Life while they're charging.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, now I get it. And while they're watching, I assume they'll have the ability to click that like, thumbs up, and subscription button.
Absolutely. And if you haven't taken that hint, do it now.
Hint. Not very hinty when you say go do it.
Not the best at subtlety.
We're just making sure everybody knows exactly what we want them to do.
You!
Give us that thumbs up.
You at the supercharger. Click the button.
And let us know how you're getting YouTube at the Supercharger early.
Yes,
We'd like to know.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, it's probably on their phone at this point. But so then somebody asked him about Audible, and he said, "Why don't you just use your phone?" And then somebody else asked him about would they be able to use it while driving, and he said, "Whenever full self-drive is certified." And those are all I can think of right now. I'm sorry.
So hopefully we'll see version 10 with some of these wonderful things before the end of the year. But we'll definitely report as they happen.
He said end of August, probably early September, when somebody said, "Oh, Elon time."
Yeah, so he's aware of his own time.
He is. Oh, something is flying in front of your camera, like a spider silk.
Look out! Next, we're going to talk a little bit about this report that came out, consumers report that indicates that a lot of consumers want electric vehicles, but yet the auto manufacturers disagree and don't believe that people want electric vehicles. So this is kind of a weird piece that was put on Inside EVs, and it talks about this I guess disconnect between auto manufacturers and the public at large. Now, not of course everybody wants an EV. I don't know, although I don't know why after driving one this long, but some of them haven't been exposed to it. But certainly there is this thing called most likely profit that auto manufacturers are just not into manufacturing EVs. There's a number of things that could be involved that's preventing them from doing so. But I wanted to talk to the panel and see what their thoughts were about legacy automakers not really trying too hard to put EVs out into the public. What are some of the reasons that we have seen over the past number of years, or we suspect we've seen?
Because they're hidden in the back with flat tires and dead batteries.
Well, that's how they sell them, Casey.
That's their whole go-to-market strategy right there.
Yeah, and it's working well too. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, they look at Tesla having record quarters and still dropping 504 million. What was the number? You know, they're looking at very thin, if at all, profit margins. And then they're looking at their F-150s, they're looking at their Escalades, they're looking at their, you know, whatevers, their Tundras, their Highlanders. And they're like, hey, we can make a lot more money doing those things than we can on that. Yeah.
So with that one, I'm curious. What is the profit margin on the F-150? Because I don't understand it. That if Tesla can get 25 to 30% per car, and these guys have been doing it for hundreds of years, even
less
though most of
than 20, Casey.
Even though most of their cars aren't that, most of their companies are not that old anymore, they do still have the institutional knowledge about them. Why can they not do a better job than Tesla at?
I believe the answer to that,
with profit.
I believe the answer to that question is current infrastructure. They've got several engine plants and transmission plants and all the things that make a gasoline engine operate and to be placed into these vehicles. They have all that overhead that they're paying off year after year. And it becomes, after, you know, the more they sell, the cheaper every unit becomes and the more profit they get. So they've got this long legacy of these different pieces and parts that wouldn't be required with an EV. And some of those plants would have to be changed, modified, mothballed in order to get to a point where an EV would be produced. I believe that's part of the issue.
So sunk costs, basically. Because like when you look at the way they build an EV, very few of them include anything like a front trunk and anything like a skateboard, even though GM showed it to us, almost 30 years ago now. And it's just disappointing to see that, really.
Why do you assume that emulating Tesla is the path to profitability?
Well, because other than they're reinvesting in the company, they've done it. They're making 25 to 30% per car.
Who says?
Well,
I'm sorry. On just the last quarter, they made less than 20%.
Well,
according to their own paperwork.
This last quarter, they were making the standard range, the standard range plus. But prior to that, even with the regular Model 3s, they were making a decent profit per vehicle, and then just reinvesting it in the company. The other companies don't need to reinvest.
How many profitable
like
quarters
this.
has Tesla had since it started?
3.
Okay, thank you.
But like I said, the other companies are established. They don't need to reinvest into the company in the same manner that Tesla is doing.
But obviously, Casey, they must be seeing a higher profit margin than 20%.
Yeah,
that's what I'm curious. Like what it is.
They must be making much more money, especially on a pickup, which of course is priced rather high and continues to go high. Right. So that is their high profit vehicle at this point in history.
Generally speaking,
Generally speaking, Ford makes at least 30% on an F-150.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm reading a
base model.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm reading an automotive news about profit margins on crossover and SUVs, and I haven't found hard numbers yet. But one of the key things that they talk about here is they basically can use a lot of the same parts that they use with their regular sedans and things. And then people are willing to pay 25% more for a truck than a sedan. And they're reusing a lot of the same parts.
Okay, so they've already got their profit margin, so why do something new and put R&D into it?
Yeah, a lot of that.
I do want to avoid falling into the trap. Again, I'm not... this is a really simple observation. Tesla isn't profitable. Okay? It's not. So saying, wow, what's wrong with auto company X because they won't do what Tesla does...
I'm saying, why don't they do it?
The answer to that's kind of obvious.
Now, when you look at why they are losing it, is because reinvesting. But the exact same thing that Amazon did 20 years ago. They got lambasted for the same stuff, not showing a profit.
I'm not quite hearing you, Casey. I'm sorry, you broke up at the beginning.
I said it's the same stuff that Amazon used to get in trouble for all the time 20 years ago.
Yeah, but
not showing a profit.
We're not talking about Amazon. We're talking about somebody who makes something. Amazon doesn't really make very much. They're a distributor. They're a warehouser. They're a shipper. So it's a different business model than somebody who actually builds things, right?
And so my point for the guys that build stuff is they don't have to make those same investments in their company, other than, like Mark said, firing a bunch of people and closing a couple plants because they're not necessary anymore.
Well, I think that they are at a point where they're seeing the changes coming. We even saw it in the recent Ford commercial or infomercial they put out about the electric truck, talking about pulling 1.2 million pounds of train car. But Ford, what they've really got behind them is that line of 42 pickups that they pulled. Those trucks are hugely profitable. Mm-hmm. And to tell the buying public that the electric is the way to go, they're going to slash, just by the numbers we've come up with on a base model, they're going to slash 10% of their profits immediately. That is not going to make the shareholders very happy at all.
Yeah.
That they're going to have pitchforks and torches burning at the front gates of Ford if they were just to turn around on a dime like that. Yeah. And people would be double guessing their judgment and their sanity for making such a move. But it's can they ease themselves into it where they make one plant that's making EVs, that's putting out, but every plant or every car they sell that is in the EV realm, they do take some of the profit out of their own mouths.
Yeah, and I don't want to come off as supporting the wrong side here. I agree with anybody here or in the chat room or wherever that says the legacy company should be making electric vehicles. I completely agree. They should be. Whether or not it's profitable at the beginning, whether or not it causes disruption, I completely agree. They should be making EVs. That's not the issue. The issue that I'm taking with this here is that Tesla, while it's done a lot of good work, is not necessarily the paradigm for a profitable car company because it's never been a profitable car company.
Correct.
That's all. So that's all.
They may not be the model to follow. Certainly,
Right.
They've got different parts completely. If Tesla doesn't sell any cars, they're done. Yeah. Because that's all they do is sell EVs. But these other companies, they have a viable business and have had a viable business for, in some cases, over 100 years.
Sure.
And they are protecting some of that legacy, and their shareholders and stockholders. All of that has to be considered.
And I don't want to drag this out. Tony's got a graph. Tony, do you want to talk about your graph?
Yeah, thanks.
So
No, I put this up because this is from the article. This is, as you can see, it's from Inside EVs. And you can see here that only 37% of people are not interested at all for their next vehicle.
They probably haven't seen one.
Right. See, okay. We'll take questions at the end. But so 27% show some interest, but not for the next vehicle. 31% would consider for the next vehicle, and only 5% definitely plan on getting one for the next vehicle. And like Casey said, and what I promised I was going to get to, this is because only 5% of the people have probably ever been in one before. If these others, especially the ones that would consider it, then, just riding in one or driving one would move them into the darker green. The ones that show some interest, but not for the next vehicle, yeah, if they, again, were to drive one or ride in one, they would, and I'm getting more than half of them would at least shift into would consider for the next vehicle. Only 37% have no interest whatsoever, and that is a minority, no matter how you look at it. So this study, this poll shows what the manufacturers of existing ICE vehicles don't want to see, which is the majority of their customers are looking for electric vehicles.
Yep. And then also consider that of that 31% that would consider but have never ridden in one, look at how many of them have bought Model 3s without ever taking a test drive or touching one.
Well, I don't know how many of those people.
I was going to say, I don't think so.
If they would consider for the next vehicle, that probably might not be that they already own one.
Oh no, not they. I'm saying the ones that made the jump, that would consider it and did do it. When you hear the testimonials of all the people who bought a base Model 3, that they just jumped, they'd never been in one, they'd never gone on a test drive. It's amazing.
But they probably didn't start out. They probably didn't start out in the pack of people that would never consider one.
Oh no, they definitely did not. No. They were more open-minded, more like eco-conscious. Maybe they own the Prius.
Yeah, the 58. Yeah, the 58% down here who would consider and have some interest. Yeah, once you've ridden one, and we all know this. Once you've ridden in an EV, once you've driven an EV, the giggle factor kicks in, and it's like getting on a roller coaster, and you can't wait to get back in it. And yeah, suddenly your eye in that car, I mean, regardless of which, I know this is the Tesla life, but regardless of the manufacturer, the make and model of the car, you want to get back in an EV.
Yeah, my first time in the Honda Clarity, the FCX Clarity, the burgundy hydrogen car, I put that accelerator down, and I was hooked. I mean, I was driving Prius at the time. I was like, why am I driving a hybrid? I never want to drive another non-electrically propelled vehicle ever again. And eventually it happened.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, we've run a little bit long. We don't want to go too far over the hour, so we're going to pull it to an end at this point. And again, if you're still watching at this point, you've never been here before, give us a thumbs up. Press the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give us a number, and that would really help us out, and we would appreciate that. And as I say that, let's go to Mr. Green and see what he's got to tell us about his update in the situation and maybe some videos on the horizon.
Uh-oh.
So my Model X is in for the shutter recall, not recall, but I guess it'd be more of a TSB, where if you lay the hammer down a little hard, it'll kind of vibrate. And I get to have my first experience with Tesla Uber credits. So I planned do something on that for video and put it up on youtube.com/CaseyGreen.
Very good. So your experience with a YouTube or with a credit from Uber, which came from Tesla.
That's right.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Tony, any shout outs to let us know about?
Yeah, well, shout out as usual to everyone in the chat. Thanks everyone for spending some time with us. I hope you're not too drunk. But hey,
I hope you're drunk.
That's why we have Russell on the show, right? So last call for show titles. What I have so far is Look, It Glows. And we all know I can't get that picture out of my head. The one that I said any landing you can walk away from. Model 3 can't fly. Megapacks is people. And it was funny it was Hockey Day who pointed out, I think 3 of our stories, batteries, and more batteries.
That's it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Frost, what have you got to share with the group?
I just want a personal shout out to all the drunken bastards in the chat room. Love you all. Keep on drinking, brothers. Check us out, of course, at What Drives Us. That show starts in about an hour. As always, you can find us at facebook.com, the Tesla Life #1. That's the Tesla Life #1. And of course, the happening place is Twitter at the Tesla Life, which is the thing you have to sign up for. And if you're already signed up, share a tweet with a friend that Mark has put a lot of work into, because it's a great follow. So that's what I got this week.
Thanks very much, Mr. Frost.
I'm gonna have to check out that Twitter thing. So many people talk about it.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
No, I don't mean the show. I mean Twitter.
Does your tube computer get Twitter?
I don't know. I'll have to log on to my AOL account. And
There you go. Yeah, you'll do well. Absolutely.
What's the AOL keyword for that?
Loser.
Oh, he really set himself up for that one, didn't he? Okay. Well, with that happy ending, we will move on. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching or watching live or recorded. And check us out next week and find out what's going on in the Tesla life. Good night, everybody. Have yourselves a good week.
Thanks, Lee Moon, for the music. Woo, Lee Moon.
Way to go.